Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a tutorial for you on how to gold leaf a canvas or panel. So we'll start with like the materials you'll need. So yeah, have your canvas or panel or whatever you would like to gold leaf. I mean, you can even gold leaf paper, but it might sort of crinkle a bit. So I've just got like a canvas board here that I'm going to show you what I'm doing on. It can get a bit messy, so if you want to save your work surface, I'd cover it with something. I've just used some tissue paper here. Oh yeah, just anything you don't mind getting a bit messy. And you can also raise, if you've got a canvas with sides that you want to gold leaf as well, you can also raise it by balancing it on cups or something, so it's raised off of the surface, and you can gold leaf the sides. So that's another thing to consider. And then other things you'll need are a paintbrush, and maybe one you don't mind so much getting ruined. This is actually quite a nice paintbrush, but you can wash it in, I use Gamsol, which is like a white, it's from Gamblin, and it's like a white spirit, but it doesn't have the same horrible smell, but it still is fumey, just on a lot less scale. So yeah, still try and work in a ventilated area if you can. And yeah, this is mainly just I use to clean the brush and any surfaces that you might get a bit mucky, but it can also take off varnishes and stuff. So yeah, just be aware of using that. And the other thing you'll need for gold leaf is, for gilding, sorry, and using gold leaf is this stuff, which is amazing, and I've come to use it for everything. And it's called Galkyd, might be saying it wrong. And that's also from Gamblin, and this is perfect for the gold leafing, and you can also use it as well as like a varnish once you finish an oil painting, but not the final varnish, the one that you can use as soon as it's touch dry. The final varnish you usually have to wait 6 months. So yeah, this has so many uses, and probably loads more which I'm not going to mention right now. So yeah, you need this, your paintbrush, your surface, and of course your gold leaf, gold or silver leaf or copper leaf. They do leaves in all different colours now, which I just order online. This is Imitation Gold Leaf and Imitation Silver Leaf, and you can get them super cheap. I mean, you can even get them, you know, online, all those online ones which we all use, which I'm not going to promote. But you can use, yeah, you can basically get them super cheap, the imitation leaf. And you can also use real gold leaf as well. You can get different carats. You can get, you know, 12 carats, 25 carats, whatever. But again, they're much more expensive, and it's a bit more scary because it's a bit more worrying if you're going to mess up, because it can be quite tricky using gold leaf. But yeah, the imitation's great because it doesn't matter, you've got loads, and if you make a mistake, it's a good place to start until you're more confident. So the first thing you want to do is we're going to get the kind of, I call it like the glue layer down the gold leaf's going to stick to. So yeah, we're just going to use our Galkyd, and I'll go into more about the Galkyd a bit later, but the way I found to use it is just to get like a little, just like poke a hole in it, and then you don't spill it everywhere, and I think it will help it to last longer as well. And I'm just gonna like drip some, like a little layer on my surface like that, and also yeah, catch any drips like from the bottle as well, because it can, when you put the lid on, the Galkyd can actually seal the lid on, and it can be a bit, you know, I've had to use kind of pliers to get it off again, which is a bit of a hassle, because it kind of dries in the air so quickly. Make sure you put the lid back on after every time. I know it can be a bit annoying, but your product will last a lot longer. So we've got the Galkyd on there, and we're just going to spread it with our brush, just making sure it covers every surface, every little cranny. And because this canvas is very textured. Just really kind of get that brush in there to make sure it's all covered. And you don't need to have it thick. You really don't need to have the Galkyd thick here. Just spread it relatively thin. I've even probably put a bit too much on there as well. Yeah, you really don't need it that thick. I mean, you're going to save money if you're using less, and it's going to take less time to dry. And you just don't need it. Like, the gold leaf will stick to anything really, so it's just a little thin tacky layer. So yeah, just spread that out nicely with your brush, and that was actually a little bit more than I needed, but the whole thing is pretty much covered. You probably can't see exactly, but yeah, just covering all that surface. And now's a really good time, once the whole surface layer is covered, is I always just lift it up towards the light and just have like a look to see if there's any places I've missed. Is there any areas that don't look shiny or patches that don't look covered? Once I'm happy with that, am I happy with that? Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Then's a good time, if you've got a canvas, I love gold leafing the edges. A lot of the time people will go for a gold leaf edge rather than getting it framed with my work, so just yeah, now's a really good time to get those edges done. And as I say, like, if you've got a box canvas, you'll want to have things to raise it off the ground with, so it doesn't stick to whatever you're placing it on. And if not, I'm just going to lie it down on the tissue paper while it dries, because these edges, I don't know if you can see, but they're quite thin. Like, it's not going to be much gold leaf, and you do want a little bit on the bottom just so it can, the gold leaf will wrap right round. There we go. So that's all nicely covered, and obviously this is quite a small canvas, but it shouldn't really matter the size of your canvas or panel. Like, if you've used a thin layer, I roughly give it can change between maybe an hour or 2 hours. I don't know why you're out of focus. It can roughly take an hour or 2 hours for, you don't want it completely dry. It takes, I think, about 24 hours to completely dry, but you want it to be like tacky. So you don't want it to be wet, but you want it to be tacky. You want the consistency of your finger to slightly stick to it, but not wet, because then the gold leaf is just going to slide everywhere. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave that now for 2 hours or maybe an hour to dry. I'll let you know when it's done, and then we'll come back for the next stage. So, and also once you've done that, very important, wash your brush, because you do not want, if it's a nice brush and you want to keep it, you don't want it drying, because it will dry on your brush and it'll be ruined. So yeah, wash it off. Lots of whatever works for you, soap water, white spirit, Gamsol. I'm going to use some Gamsol, maybe some soap and water afterwards, and yeah, get that off your brush. Yeah, so while we're here, I'll quickly tell you how to store your Galkyd. From recent mistakes I've learned that, yeah, so this is an old one I had, and you can tell it's gone all gloopy and horrible. So to prevent that from happening, keep the lid on as much as possible. To stop it darkening so much as well, I don't know if you can tell, this one's quite pale, this one's got quite a lot of colour in it now. Keep it actually more like, don't store it in dark places. Keep it kind of out, not in direct sunlight, but just keep it out. Don't put it in drawers and stuff. And yeah, and if it does start to go a bit gloopy, or you're a bit worried about the consistency and you've got a large bottle of Galkyd, you can add just a tiny bit of Gamsol, just to thin it. So I'm going to try that today. I'm going to put a bit of Gamsol. I don't know if this is past saving now, to be honest, but yeah, that's one way to make sure that this will last a long time and you'll keep its lovely thin consistency, because I tried to use this one yesterday for gold leafing and it took hours and hours to dry and the gold leaf looked terrible and it was just a waste of time. So yeah, you want to make sure you've got good quality stuff, and yeah, and I'm sure it will work the same for other mediums. You can buy Gilding Glue specifically for gilding. The great thing about this technique is I use it with oil paintings, so I know this is kind of oil painting proof, and with the imitation leaf as well, it's it will stop it from, you know, miscolouring, and it will keep the gold colour, and it will stop it from, I don't know, going all green and, you know, what you don't want. So this technique is great for oil paintings and people that want to use multimedia on gold leaf. Definitely recommend this product. Woo. You think I'd work for them? I don't work for them. I should work for them. Give me a job, Gamblin. Hi, so welcome back, and we are doing the gold leaf now. So it's probably been left to dry for about I'd say about 2 hours I've left it actually, and it probably could even do with a bit longer, but it's worth checking because sometimes the drying time is a lot quicker. Like yeah, I had another piece that was definitely ready in an hour, and it should just feel like lightly tacky when you touch it. Yeah, so what you need now is your gold leaf, and the gold leaf comes in these sandwich between these paper protectors, so they're all divided, and those paper protector dividers, sorry, are really good for when you're actually applying it. So what I'm going to do is, this gold leaf is quite old, so you might have to bear with me. So I've picked up a thing of gold leaf with the paper, and I'm trying not to touch it too much, maybe a little bit at the corners, because it will literally stick to anything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, like, starting from the bottom and overlapping slightly at the edges, I'm just going to lay it down as flat as I possibly can. And then once it's down, you can either just use your hand on top of the paper just to kind of flatten it, smooth it, be relatively delicate, just kind of rub it in a circle, or if you have a bit of material or some cotton, you can also use that if you prefer. I usually do just use my hand, or sometimes I'll take the paper off like this, and as long as the paper has no glue on, you can use that to just rub it on a bit more. There you go. So this has actually gone a bit wrong already, which is good for the demo. So actually usually I would have waited a bit longer for it to be a bit more tacky. So this is what happened when I've rubbed it. It's actually rubbed some of the leaf off there, as you can see. I'll bring it closer, and then you've got to be very gentle because then it takes the gold leaf off. But this is actually okay, and this is good for the demo because then I can show you how to fix that. And as you can see, the gold leaf is gone around the edges, so I'm just going to just delicately with my finger just fold it over, and it doesn't matter how far it goes at the back, like you can get the excess later. I'm just going to, yeah, flatten it like that gently with my hand. You can go over with a bit of paper as well, just to get it as flat as possible. I quite like this whole textured effect with the kind of lines, and I think it catches the light well as well, and gives the paintings more depth. But it's your personal preference. Like, I think the more experience you get with gold leaf, you can probably get it quite smooth. I mean, I still feel like I'm early stages, so. And so there we go, we've got one square done, and then we'll just do it. The rest of the painting, the rest of the canvas, sorry. Gold leaf is not good, and yeah, and it will rip like that. So, you know, this one's just ripped, so I'm actually going to save that for areas to fix. So For example, we can tear off a little bit with our hands and just put it over those little gaps where it tore off. And because I think the Galkyd was still too wet, that's why it kind of came off. So I can just gently tap it. Because I've still got some glue on my fingers, it's a bit risky because it is bringing up more. There we go. Use a bit of paper if you want as well, just to flatten it a bit. Just fixing those little bits that went wrong. But you can see it's super easy to fix, and you won't really notice in the final thing unless you're going for a super smooth finish. Okay, and I'm just going to continue to do what I just did, putting these on like so and slightly overlapping them on the edges. And obviously if you've got maybe canvas with deep edges and you want to gold leaf them, then I'd have more to go over the sides, and you'd literally do exactly the same thing. You just like flatten it down at the edges like that. And I always overlap slightly to the square I've just done, so you're not going to get any gaps. And then I'm just using the paper like so. So here we go. I've completely covered the whole thing and all the edges. If you can see, like, yeah, you'll go over a bit on the back, and that's okay. Oh look, and because it's still wet, I've just ruined it. So yeah, just like, again, if there's any mistakes, just put a little bit over, just dab it with your hand, especially if the glue's still very dry. And also if it doesn't stick, you can always come back later. You'll have to put a bit more Galkyd in and just put a little bit more leaf on top. So that area there I'll probably come back to later, but for now I've covered the whole thing with gold leaf. And what we're going to do now is we are going to leave that to dry overnight. Yeah, give it like 24 hours or even in the morning, it should be fine. And I'll show you the next step. Right, yeah, thank you. Shiny shine.